Hello and welcome back to my channel, Craft Time by Casey. I am Casey and today this is the multi-strand necklace that I will be making, and most of the components that I use to make this necklace came from the bargain bead box for the month of August 2022, and I will have all the information in the description box. If you are interested in the bargain bead box, please go check it out. Use that link below, and if you order from their website or if you start up that subscription, make sure you use my code Casey2. Casey2, and keep in mind I spell my name a little different. It's Kasi2, and that'll give you $2 off your first box or $2 off your first order on their website. So if you are curious to see how this necklace came about, then stay tuned. All right, so let's get right into it. I'm gonna start by going over the tools that I will be using. I will be using 2 sets of chain nose pliers. I will be using 1 set of round nose pliers and 1 set of cutters. I will also be using my crimping pliers. I do want to mention my tool set. It is called the Casual Comfort tool set right there. And I highly recommend this tool set. I will have this link down below along with everything else that I use that didn't come from the bargain bead box this month. This tool set is very high quality and very well made, and I use it just about on a daily basis. They are very comfortable to use, and the biggest thing for me is the adult size grips. A lot of times, for whatever reason, in the store, the tools that I've seen have these smaller grips, and they definitely function and they're usable, but when I found this tool set and I started using it, it just feels a lot more comfortable to use, and it feels a lot more sturdy to use these particular tools. So again, I will have these linked down below. Highly recommend them, but even if you don't get this tool set, I just recommend that you invest in your tools. If you make jewelry very often, a good high quality set of tools can really be a game changer. I am also using 49 strand bead along wire. I'm using it in the color Bright, which is this bright silver color. And I always get it in the 100 feet just because I go through it so quickly. But this is the wire that I'll be using. Anytime I use gunmetal finishes on this particular mat, it washes out a little bit, and I know some things are hard to see when they're on the mat, so it'll be a lot different when I actually, hold it up to the camera. It won't be kind of washed out on the mat. What I will be using today, I'm going to be using these howlite beads. First, the 8mm round howlite beads, and then I will be using 3 of these English cut howlite beads. I will be using these 3x4mm black rondelle beads. And from my own stash, I will be using these 4mm black pearl beads. I will also be using these 3mm spacer beads in the gunmetal finish. And the chain that I'm using is the Rolo chain that came in the bead box. I've already cut it into the sections that I need. And as you can see here, I have 2 sections at 4 inches, and then 2 sections at 2.5 inches. Those are the sections of chain that I have. I'm going to be using 2 of the chandelier connectors, and this is going to be, of course, a multi-strand necklace, as you saw from the intro, and they're going to be on either side of the necklace. And then we will have this key pendant at the center of the necklace. So to begin, I've already cut a section of wire, and it is just over 12 inches, and you definitely do not need much more than this. I like to have extra on either end, so I am not kind of fighting to close it off. The strand itself is going to be right at 8 inches long, so I usually cut about 12 or so that I have space on either side. So to start it off, I'm going to use a crimp tube, a jump ring, and a wire guardian. You put it through one side, wrap it around, and put it through the other. Just like that. So now you want to make sure that the jump ring goes up inside of that guardian wire and that both sides of the wire go in through that crimp tube. Just like that. So now I'm going to pinch that guardian wire closed with my fingers, and then I'm going to pull on the long piece a little bit because I don't need a tail quite that long. And then I want to make sure I hold, I know this is going to be difficult to see because they're small pieces, but I'm going to make sure I hold that wire separated, and I'm going to pinch it up there with my fingernail, tug on this so it's nice and snug, and I want to make sure that that wire is separated. You can see this one sticking out this way and this one sticking out that way. You don't want it overlapped in that crimp tube. So I'm going to go in with my crimping pliers into the second divot, give it a good smash. See that wire separated underneath. Get that taco shape, just like that. Hold it on its side, go into that first divot and give it another smash. And that gets it pretty good, but I like it to be as snug as I can make it. I go in with the flat part at the end of my crimping pliers, and I give it a final smash. And that is as snug as I can make it. Then I take that crimp cover, I'm holding on to that jump ring that's inside the guardian wire, and I put that crimp cover right on top of that smashed crimp tube, and then flip it up just like that. I'm gonna go in with my chain nose pliers, give it a good smash. Now I say good smash, you do want to be gentle with these crimp covers because it doesn't take much strength to smash it and get it too hard, and then it'll go flat. So once I have it smashed, I'm gonna go front to back. And give it that round shape. And there you have it. It gives that illusion of the first bead, and that's how I start each strand. All right, so at this point, it is the order of the beads. So we're gonna do a very simple back and forth with the round howlite bead and the small rondelle. And when you take them down to the other end, you wanna make sure that tail gets tucked into the beads. Now we're going to do a back and forth where up until you have 9 of these howlite beads. So back and forth until you have 9 howlite beads and 8 of the rondelles. All right, so here we go. We have 9 of the 8mm howlite and 8, of course 1 in between each one, 8 of the rondelles. So now the centerpiece is going to be super simple. I am putting on these 2 black 4mm pearls. All right, so that is the center, and it's more functional than particularly decorative because this is where we're going to hang the pendant. Now we're going to do this exact thing on the other side. So you're gonna have 9 howlite beads and 8 of the rondelles, and then we'll meet back up to close it off. All right, so here we go. So we have 9 on this side and 9 on this side, all with that rondelle in between, and then the 2 pearls in the center. So now we're going to close off this side. So you want to put on a crimp tube, a jump ring, and a wire guardian through one side, wrap it around and put it through the other side. Then make sure your jump ring is up in the guardian wire. And then I'm going to close it with my fingers. And I'm going to make sure that crimp tube has both sides of the wire in it. Just like that. Now I want that end of that wire to go through the first couple of beads. So I'm going to hold on to that jump ring and then pull it. Now here is where you want to make it snug, but you want it to be flexible. So you definitely want to kind of move the strand around. Try to make it a balance. You want it to be snug, so pull on that tail, make it snug. Then make sure it's flexible. Definitely want it to have movement and not be too snug. So now I have that crimp tube there on the end. I am going to go in with my crimping pliers into that second divot. Give it a good smash. Get that taco. Then turn it on its side. Go into that first divot. Give it another smash. And then I like to go in with that flat part at the end. Give it that final smash. Make it nice and snug. Just like that. Take that crimp cover. Put it on top of that smashed crimp tube. And then flip it up. Then you're going to go in with your chain nose pliers. Give it a gentle smash. Then you're going to go front to back. Give it that round shape. Just like that. Now you want to go in with that tail. Go in with your cutters. Get as close as you can. And then, well, normally I have to go in with my nail and kind of push it in there, but that one just kind of naturally fell in there. So here is the biggest strand. And when I've made multi-strand necklaces in the past, I always have people ask me, how long is each strand? How do you decide the length you need for each strand? And honestly, in the beginning, it was a lot of trial and error. But at this point, I sort of have it to us. I feel like I have it to a science. And as long as the strands are about 1 inch different for me, now, I mean, I am not an expert. This is just my hobby. And in my experience, what I have found is as long as the strands are about 1 inch different in length, then they usually fall correctly when you have like a long strand and then a shorter strand on top of it and a shorter strand on top of that. So this strand here, if you look at, let me get it in the camera. If you look at just the beads, it's almost right at 8 inches. A little bit over. All right, so that's this strand. So when I made this one, I knew the next one, which would be the next strand shorter, needed to be right at 7, just a little over. So that's the method that I usually use. Again, this is just me and my opinion and what has worked for me in the past. So the next strand needs to be 7 inches long. All right. So here is the second strand. I have already made it. And I want to show you, if you need a reminder on how to start off the strand, you can always go back to that first strand. They start off the exact same way. And after that, it's just the order of the beads. So for this one, I used all of that grayscale mix because if you notice on the first strand, I just used those black ones, the black rondelles. So for this strand, I used all 3 colors. So it was the black, the gray, and the white rondelle. And then in between each one, I put in one of those 3mm gunmetal spacers. Okay, so it was a very simple back and forth. I just started with black, then gray, then white, and then repeated myself. Black, then gray, then white, all the way across, and I had a spacer in between. So this is the second strand, and you close it off the exact same way as the first strand, exact same method. And if you see on here, if we're looking at just the beads, it's just over 7 inches. So it's almost the exact same as that first strand. So if you set the 2 strands next to each other, you'll be able to see that this bottom strand is about 1 inch different. So these are going to be the bottom 2 strands, and then the third strand in this necklace is going to be using the chain and having a component in the middle. So you're going to take an eye pin, and then the order of the beads is going to be the rondelle, the spacer, and then you're going to use this English cut howlite bead, and then opposite, you're gonna go spacer rondelle. So there's the order right there for the component. And since I have an eye pin, I always try to get the loops on either side to be facing the same direction. So I'm going to set that loop on this finger facing me, and then hold on to those beads at the top. I'm gonna go in with my round nose pliers just over that top bead, and then bend it back with my fingers, and then I'm going to go in with my cutters. I'm gonna hang on to that tail with my fingers down here, otherwise it will go flying. Now I'm gonna go back in with my round nose pliers and close that loop. I'm gonna take it at the end, just like that, and curl it back in. So just like that, there's the component. So now I'm going to connect each side of this chain to the component. So I'm gonna go into that last link, grab it on one side, grab it on the other, then open the link. Then I'm gonna connect that component on the link right there, and then close that link in the chain. And I'm gonna do that exact same thing on the other side. All right, so here it is. Here is the last strand. And using my own method, this one should be about 6 inches. So as you can see, it is just over that 6-inch mark. So again, my method is having them be about an inch apart. Now, again, it's just me and my opinion and what works for me. All right, so now it's a matter of putting it all together. They're all going to be connected to the chandelier, kind of like that, okay? I'm gonna connect them all on one side, and then it's the same process on the other side. So here we go. I'm gonna start with this shortest one. I'm gonna put the last link through a jump ring, just like that, and put it through the last link on the chandelier, last loop, and close the jump ring. So the other strands already have jump rings on them. The middle strand goes in that middle loop right there, close the jump ring. And then that longest one, just like that on the outer one, then close it. And then you connect them the exact same way on the other chandelier, smallest one being on the inside, middle one being in the middle, longest one being on that outside one. All right, so now we have all three on here, and we're going to make 2 more of these same components to attach to the top of the chandeliers. So if you need, you can go back into the video and you do the exact same thing to make 2 more just like this. All right, so here they are. I'm gonna take a jump ring, connect it to the top, and connect it to one side of that component. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. All right, so here we go. So now, the 2 pieces of chain that we have, we're gonna connect it to either side at the top. So take the jump ring, connect it to the last link, just like that. Then you can connect it to the top of the component. Then I'm gonna take another jump ring and connect it to the other side, just like that, and connect that to the lobster clasp, and then close that jump ring. Then I'm gonna take another jump ring, connect it to the last link on the other side, and then connect it to the top of that component. And then the last small jump ring, and by small, these are 6 millimeters, I'm going to connect it to the other last link in the chain and simply close the jump ring. This will be the jump ring that the lobster clasp connects to. So then you can connect it just like that. And the last thing we're gonna do is put on the pendant. So here I have a heavy gauge 8mm jump ring. So I have a larger jump ring for this one. And I'm going to put the key on the jump ring, and then at that point where the two 4mm pearls are, I'm just going to put this larger jump ring, heavy gauge, right over those two pearls. Then I'm going to close that jump ring. This jump ring can move on these pearls just fine, but it will not move anywhere past those howlite beads. So that's where it's hanging, right here. So now this is the final piece, and I'm going to go set it up on my display so that we can see it better. All right, so here it is, and I gotta say I am super happy with how it came out. I love how each one of these strands kind of falls, and if we zoom in, that key, that old-fashioned key, is just such a nice touch. It's such a beautiful pendant for this necklace, and it really ties in to those connectors, those chandelier components on either side. It just all comes together so nice. If you like this video and you want to see other videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and give me a like. Leave a comment. I absolutely love reading my comments. You guys are so kind, and I definitely look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.